one of those not so often used mechanics that sometimes is just kind of busted. Something as innocuous as a Twiddle just ultimately becomes absurdly powerful.
Kurtzman was on the play. Kofi had a turn 1 expedition map off of Urza's tower. Kurtzman is casting an Ideas Unbound on the second turn. Usually you want to cast this on your combo turns, both because it's an arcane spell to splice onto and because you want to have the extra cards. So what Ideas Unbound does, you draw 3 cards, at end of turn you discard 3.
Yeah, so for that whole turn you just get a 2-mana draw 3, but at the end of the turn you do have to discard. So if Kurtzman is playing it here, that means that his hand is a little light on cantrip type effects, and he's just looking for some combo pieces, and he has some redundancy in hand. And you see there he discarded a Lotus Field, which to me signifies that maybe he's ready to go off next turn.
Yeah, the Lotus Field is a double-edged sword in the deck. You both need to draw it to combo, and the second copy is rancid. So you want to discard the extra copies for sure.
Well, if you splice 2 Psychic Puppetries... Oh, you don't need the second Lotus Field. Never mind.
You also have to sacrifice
Maybe
2 lands on the way in.
I don't know.
It just takes way too much time.
That's fair.
Kofi just with the Blast Zone as a second land. We'll see if Kurtzman does have a turn 3 win. This deck does have a fair amount of those.
He's so dead. Coffey's so dead. I don't mean to laugh, but whenever the Storm player gets out the stuff, you're dead.
Oh, yeah. So kind of the engine of this deck, you cast all these arcane spells. You want to use some Twiddles. The big one is Psychic Puppetry because you can keep reusing that on cards that replace themselves. Ideas Unbound and Peer Through Depths. So he's going to start sacrificing the 2 lands to the Lotus Field, using one of the 2 floating blue mana to Twiddle to untap the field. Taps that, now he has 4 blue mana in the pool. Here's Ideas Unbound, but we're not seeing a splice just yet. So it's going to cost 2 of his blue mana. He has 2 left over. All the 1-mana Twiddles play here great. Ideally, you don't want to have to spend a Psychic Puppetry at this point. You want to keep splicing that. So this works. He has Dream's Grip. That's going to untap the field again. Storm's at 3. 1 blue still in the pool. Make that 4 mana. Here's Ideas Unbound. Still not seeing the Puppetry, though.
Yeah, but, you know, every draw 3, he gets to see more and more cards and eventually dig for that kind of stuff. And this, of course, is all fueled by Lotus Field tapping for 3 mana on its own. This is kind of a nod to Lotus Veil, which is on the, I believe it's on the no reprint list, right?
The reserve list. It's a card from Weatherlight.
Right. It functions a bit differently because it enters the battlefield tapped, whereas Lotus Veil enters untapped, but you have to sack 2 untapped lands, so you don't get to float mana.
Other huge keyword, hexproof.
Yeah, hexproof is the big thing that makes it desirable in these combo decks, because your opponent can't break it up with things like Field of Ruin or Ghost Quarter, which are usually your way to interact with those types of effects. Now, we've seen something very similar to this in the past, this combo deck in the past, with there was an old school Twitter Storm deck and extended back around 2003, 2004 that used Tinker to go get Gilded Lotus, and it did almost the exact same thing with the Twiddles and cast Mind's Desire and drew 1 million cards.
So this is amusing. Kofi has arranged his land in the shape of a frowny face, but Kurtzman has cast multiple Ideas Unbound this turn. That means on end step he's going to have to discard 6 cards. You saw the flip to the happy face there for Kofi. Those Serum Visions, casting 2 of those is a bad sign. You see end step, that map's going to go find Eldrazi Temple. Now Kurtzman's going to get mind twisted.
Oh no. This is how it ends.
Just ran out of gas. These combo decks, you know, they do have a fail rate, and Ideas Unbound is really going to punish you when you miss. You don't just not find your combo, you also just discard the cards. It's -1 card every time you cast one.
Sure, but I mean, at the same vein, that's a lot like a Faithless Looting, right? Like, it's not that bad,
well,
but it's not good.
He also cast 2 Twiddles, though.
Right,
so
right,
it's a little bit worse on the card disadvantage front.
But 1 card hanging out in the graveyard that he just discarded, Past in Flames. You got to be excited on that one.
Well, the card in the hand's gone. Here's Thought Knots here off that Eldrazi Temple that Kofi found. Kurtzman's just going to draw and pass. This thing looking pretty good. I think the Twiddle Storm deck just kind of failed to go off, and it's going to be really hard to reset from here.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he had to burn an Ideas Unbound on turn 2 just to kind of dig for some combo pieces, and he was unable to basically do the big chain where he cast all the Ideas Unbound all in 1 turn.
Actually, I'll correct myself. It's not that difficult to fix this. He has the Past in Flames in Graveyard, so one Twiddle should get him to open up that whole graveyard again.
Yeah, that's what I was... Okay.
I was thinking it would take more, but
That's
really
fair.
the first Twiddle does get him there.
The first Twiddle gets him up to 5, but that's just the flashback cost. And then your Lotus Veil's tap. So plus the land, that allows you to Twiddle again, and every Twiddle generates 2 more mana. So main deck Tormod's Crypt, or no, sorry, that's the Karn the Great Creator finding Tormod's Crypt, effectively sealing the deal for Kurtzman.
Yeah, that's going to close it. It was rough before, but I think it's over now. You see an Echoing Truth for Kurtzman, but that's not meaningful against the Crypt. Echoing Truth, a 1-of in the main deck. There's 1 Merchant Scroll. There's a little bit of a package for that.
Now we're going to minus and go get the Mycosynth Lattice with 6 mana. Going to try to cast that. And Kurtzman, if he does have the Echoing Truth, though, can bounce the Karn the Great Creator in response. He's not technically dead yet. Still has maybe another turn, but it's going to be absurdly difficult to get out of this.
Unlike being correct, technically alive is not the best kind of alive.
Yeah, if you went to like the hospital, right, and you're like, how's he doing, Doc? And Doc's like, well, technically, he's technically alive.
It is a bad verdict from your doctor.
Oh, no.
So we're seeing a response to the Mycosynth Lattice.
Gigadrouse. Gigadrouse in response.
4 blue mana in the pool. Echoing Truth. Bounce the Lattice. Take 4 more off the Seer. Kurtzman to 6. Technically alive.
If he had not burned through all of his ideas unbound already, oh no, he's getting it.
The confidence. Going to pretend as if the Tormod's Crypt's not there. He'll cycle Vizier of Tumbling Sands. Untaps the field, 1 blue mana in the pool. Up to 4. Here's Reach Through Mists, a 4-of in the deck. Now splicing up Puppetry.
Yeah, so this is going to untap the land and cycle to draw a card. So if he hits like a Peer Through Depths or something, I could see him maybe chaining together some stuff. But the problem is, Ideas Unbound is his big way to get a burst of cards, but he's gone through all 4 already, finds a brick off of the Reach Through Mists, and that's going to do it for game 1.
Yeah, just got to pick him up from here. Things looked really good when he started that combo turn, but the cantrips were not good to Kurtzman. Evan Kofi up a game.
How familiar are you, Ryan, of the old Popper Storm deck that played Ideas Unbound, Night's Whisper?
Grape Shot, when that was legal. Yeah. I played against it a fair amount. I had a friend who was really into it.
I watched a ton of replays on Magic Online at 4x speed, and they never whiffed.
No.
Those Popper Storm decks were absurd. They never whiffed, and they always drew a million cards with Ideas Unbound and Night's Whisper and Manamorphose and stuff, and it's sad to see them miss.
Popper then was a lot more broken than Modern is now.
That's true.
That deck was messed up.
Yeah.
But players going to sideboard here. Evan Kofi on Eldrazi-tron. The sideboard is going to be 2 Steel Walls, okay, 2 Spatial Contortion, a Cavern of Souls, a Tormod's Crypt, a Pithing Needle, a Basilisk Collar, a Spellskite, a Liquid Metal Coating, an Ensnaring Bridge, a Witchbane Orb, a Batterskull, a Mycosynth Lattice, and a Walking Ballista. Pretty big Karn board here.
I cannot tell if I really like Evan or I really dislike Evan. The Steel Walls.
The Steel Walls. Are those
Steel
genius
Wall.
or is it...
Hello, Walls.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, so... classic wish board for the Karn the Great Creator, right? Not a whole lot that's going to be coming in here. Specifically wants to keep enough stuff to find with Karn the Great Creator. The only thing I can really see is maybe Witchbane Orb, but if the Storm deck's going off, they can find one of their bounce spells pretty easily. So stopping the Grape Shot's not really the place you want to be. You want more stuff like Damping Sphere or whatever that really shuts down their ability to churn through the deck. And as I'm looking, I just don't really see a whole lot that really wants to come in.
Yeah, really not much that plays there. And it's tough to interact with the Twiddle Storm deck, honestly.
Yeah, they don't play those creatures that you're used to seeing in Storm, like Baral, Chief of Compliance. And you can't actually destroy the Lotus field. So it basically just has to be Damping Sphere, right? Or Blood Moon or something like that.
Sideboard for Kurtzman. couple alternate win conditions. 3 Aria Flame, 3 Thing in the Ice, 2 Lightning Bolt, 2 Abrade, 2 Spell Pierce, a Rebuild. That one's in Modern Horizons, apparently. An Echoing Truth and a Precognition field.
Oh, man. Funny story about Rebuild real quick. One of the first decks we were building, messing around with Modern Horizons, I had 2 Rebuild in my sideboard of some random deck, like Jeskai Control or something. And Ross Merriam just looks at me point blank and says, why is Rebuild in your sideboard? I don't even think it's good. And I had to set him down. I had to say, Ross, doesn't matter if it's good. It's in the new set. We're gonna try it out. Okay, that's the whole point of the show, is to try things out. You know.
So players exploring the new Modern format, and before long, we'll be exploring a new Standard format. Rotation's coming up with the release of Throne of Eldraine. You can pre-order that today. Ships October 4th. That's a Friday. Go to StarCityGames.com/ELD. I'm pretty excited for this one. I like the aesthetic a lot.
Yeah, I mean, just the name of the set, kind of the little previews we've gotten where it's very Magic oriented. It's going to feel a lot like playing Magic through a fairy tale, and we got a glimpse of that kind of thing in one of my favorite blocks, Innistrad. You know, original Innistrad block felt a lot like you were messing around with some classic horror genres, like, you know, the werewolves, the vampires, and things like that. But you had creatures that, you know, acted like the poltergeist. You know, creatures that acted like Little Red Riding Hood and things like that. And I think that there's going to be more of that kind of thing, but just shoved in like a huge way, just brought to the forefront.
If the world building on Throne of Eldraine is anywhere near as good as Innistrad, it'll be a home run.
Yeah, for sure.
Really just felt like you were in a horror movie playing that set. Players looking at some opening hands. Looks like Kurtzman is on a mulligan to 6.
Honestly, it's genius how they tied the Eldrazi into that plane and made it just feel, Cthulhu guy. What's his?
Lovecraftian?
Yeah, Lovecraftian. It's genius how they did that.
We are underway here. Once again, Kofi with Expedition Map off a Tron piece on the draw.
This is one of his powerful sideboard options to potentially close the game quickly in the face of disruption. Thing in the Ice is pretty good, but...
Chalice on 1 off of a second Tron piece. I think my win rate against this start is pretty close to 0%. Thing in the Ice is already on the table for Kurtzman, though.
I was gonna keep doing
Yeah,
it.
I was just gonna talk over it and not acknowledge it.
Yeah, my bad. All right, I'll be a little more professional.
Never change, Todd.
Thanks, man. Wait, is that? I don't know if that's okay. All right, here comes a discard 3. Turn is ending. Thing in the Ice is a real threat, even in the face of the Chalice of the Void. Kurtzman could untap, just cast 3 instant or sorceries, transform Thing in the Ice, and start crunching in for 7. Coffey does have the potential for Tron next turn, but he's going to have to play it from hand to get access to all the mana. Otherwise, he's going to have to settle for just the 3 off the map plus the Urza's Tower.
It's not super likely that Kofi is going to have some kind of creature removal here.
Right.
So the Thing in the Ice can be a real headache for him. You see he'll start his turn by cracking that map. Kurtzman does have the Lotus Field online, and with the Psychic Puppetry draws with some arcane spells, he can go off through the Chalice.
Yeah, we're gonna have some. We're gonna have some real tough readers here.
Ghost Quarter coming off of the Expedition map. Lotus Field has hexproof.
Sure does.
So
you know, I saw Coffey. I saw his hand. He had an Urza's Tower. And then he cracked the map really fast. And I didn't want to interrupt you, but I knew he was going for the Ghost Quarter, because if I didn't know that Lotus Field had hexproof,
you would have done the same.
I would have gone for the damn Ghost Quarter. Oh man, so it's bad news for Coffey. He has played the Ghost Quarter. I think he announced trying to use it, but since it has hexproof, it is not a valid target, but is locked into playing that land for the turn. So Kurtzman has 1 turn of reprieve here. Can he find the answer to the Chalice of the Void, or can he go off through it?
So it looks like Kurtzman has boarded heavy and reached for his multiple wall
Aria Flame?
Yeah, he has Aria in hand. You don't really need it and Thing in the Ice, and they don't play well together. I mean, they play fine if you also have some spells.
Right.
With Aria West tapped and Aria Flame here.
I see a peer through depths. There's maybe some Twiddles over there.
Yeah, I mean, getting your Twiddles counters is fine if they're good for some damage and for transforming the Awoken Horror. This game might have just gotten a little bit tighter, though. I believe Kofi's found Karn the Great Creator, and there it is. Assembles the Tron this turn. It's pretty easy to keep Awoken Horror off of attacking with an Ensnaring Bridge.
That is true, but the Aria Flame can very easily kill the Karn the Great Creator next turn because it hits player or Planeswalker with the ability. So the Mycosynth Lattice route is not feasible at the moment. Witchbane Orb, though, could be pretty good.
Yeah,
that
goes
means
and finds Orb, he'll cast that.
And that means the Kurtzman's actually going to have to start targeting himself if the Karn leaves the battlefield.
Yeah, Aria is a mandatory trigger. So you can target Planeswalkers, you're right, but you can also target yourself, and with that Witchbane Orb, people have to at some point. All right, he'll start his turn by using that Lotus Field to make 3 blue mana. 2 of it being spent. Here's Peer Through Depths. They'll trigger both of the permanents here. Thinking the ice down to 2 counters. Aria Flame will go up to 1.
Now, if I'm Kurtzman, I might just target myself with this 1 point of damage, because as the Aria Flame gets bigger and bigger, he's going to have to start targeting himself a bunch if he doesn't actually find the the bounce spell, the Echoing Truth, or some sort of way to destroy these artifacts. And he might lock himself out of the game by doing that if he doesn't target himself. And he does hit himself for 1 damage.
Yeah, go down 19 off of that. Take a look at the top 5 with this Peer Through Depths, looking for an instant or a sorcery. Finds a second copy of Peer. Remember, Chalice of the Void on 1 still on the table, so the Twiddles, the Dreams Grips, those do not really play here.
Right. What'll go do?
Dreams Grip, target Lotus Field, trigger both the permanents, and there's the Chalice trigger. But thinking the ice to 1, Aria Flame to 2. 2 damage to the Karn. Karn goes down to 1. Dreams Grip, target Lotus Field. That'll transform the thing in the ice to Awoken Horror. And the Aria Flame goes to 3, and that'll take down the Karn. So now, Awoken Horror is going to try to deal 30 damage. 7 comes across, Kofi to 23.
So, Kurtzman can keep playing spells, right? The Aria is locked into targeting himself, but he can just keep playing spells and take, up to 18 more damage before he dies.
His deck does have some answers to Chalice of the Void, too.
Right. How many artifact destruction spells are in the sideboard? Does he have any to bring in? The 1 rebuild, 2 copies of a Braid, another Echoing Truth to go with the one in the main?
Yep.
So he's got some looks, and he has the Peer Through Depths in the hand. So Peer Through Depths shoots him for 4, and then the card he gets off of it shoots him for 5, unless Evan runs another Karn the Great Creator out.
So here's backup Karn. It's going to -2. That grabs Ensnaring Bridge. That checks the Awoken Horror.
Yeah, I like this play. It's a safe play from Evan to make sure that the Awoken Horror doesn't get out of control. He's going to just hope that Kurtzman can't find an answer to the Witchbane Orb or the bridge before the Aria Flame is kind of forced to kill Kurtzman.
So Kurtzman draws for turn. He's pretty light on resources. He's just been casting some Dreams Grips into Chalice of the Void.
I mean, without Twiddle effects, Lotus Field doesn't really do anything. It just kind of acts as another land drop. He did have to sacrifice 2 lands early on.
So here's a tap of the Lotus Field. Reaches for the red mana counter.
Yeah, he's going to use the blue mana off of the Talaria West, I think, to cast the, Peer Through Depths, and then try to find an Braid to be able to cast this turn. It's my guess.
That's what it's looking like. Here you see the Peer Through Depths, 2 red mana floating. The Aria goes to 4. That takes care of the Karn. 5 looks here with the Peer. I'm not seeing a red card.
It's unfortunate for Kurtzman, but...
Finds Merchant Scroll. This is access to Echoing Truth or Rebuild.
Okay. So if he draws a land next turn, you can go Merchant Scroll for Rebuild, That bounces all the artifacts, lets him get a chunk of damage in with the Awoken Horror. But Rebuild isn't instant, so he could just tutor for it and then just wait a turn or two, rebuild, shoot himself for a chunk with the Aria Flame, and then the turn after that try to combo kill. Aria's getting up there in damage.
Back over to Kofi. Here's an Endbringer and a Reality Smasher. Good blockers for the Horror.
That is true.
Back over to Kurtzman.
I really hope Kurtzman wins this game, just because I want to see more of this. This is cool. I'm like insanely interested in what happens in this game.
Yeah, this deck is definitely really neat. And the rebuild, it does look pretty clever because you see multiple problematic artifacts on the table here.
Right.
The question is whether Kurtzman can do enough, answer all those artifacts, and make the Aria lethal on the same turn.
So here's the thing. The creatures aren't a big deal. They're locked down from Evan's own ensnaring bridge, so he has time. He could just cast the Merger Scroll right now. He has to shoot himself for 5. He goes to 14. To cast the rebuild in a turn or two is going to deal him 6. Meanwhile, the Endbringer is going to be shooting him for a couple points. But after that, all his stuff gets unlocked, and his Aria Flames goes 7-face, 8-face, 9-face, as long as he has the requisite number of spells to play.
Taking his time mapping out his turn here, we know about a Merchant Scroll. As you said, he has a little bit of time to play with, and you have to be pretty precise in your game actions from here. He's just going to pass.
Do you think he drew the rebuild?
That'd be interesting.
I mean, we know he has Merchant Scroll. He had to have drawn something he wants to cast here. He might have drawn a Braid.
It was a waste for Kofi. Now we'll be able to start using that Endbringer and draw some cards, deal some damage, check the thing in the ice.
Coffey going to go damage to the face instead, though. Knows that Kurtzman's on a bit of a clock himself just because anything he uses to try to find more stuff is going to shoot him for chunks of damage thanks to that Witchbane Orb.
Echoing Truth was picked up.
There it is.
Targets Witchbane Orb. Aria up to 5. So the Aria trigger resolves first.
Yeah, so the Aria is going to have to target himself for 5. But that's going to let him untap with an Aria Flame and a bunch of cards in hand. And if he, I don't know exactly what he can do to combo right now, but I'm sure there are some avenues.
We know about Merchant Scroll. If he has another 1 mana spell in hand, I guess he can only Aria for 6, 7, 8 from here.
Right.
That's 21, and Kofi's up 23.
Yeah, he needed a 7, 8, 9. He's been needing to draw a land for a little while just to be able to do everything. But, I think he has Merchant Scroll, so I don't know. He could tutor for a number of things.
And now we're seeing the Endbringer being pointed out to untap. That's not a trigger. It just untaps like a permanent does.
Right. Kind of like Sideboarding Muse. If I'm not mistaken, Sideboarding Muse doesn't go on the stack.
That sounds correct to me.
You know what'd be dope in this deck? Lotus Petal.
Yeah, pretty hard to make that one good.
Yeah. Extra mana would be really nice here. Seething Song, that'd be a nice one.
Rite of Flame.
Yeah. Man, how come those cards aren't in Modern?
Right. Ooh,
right.
Ideas Unbound.
So he's going for the kill this turn. He's going to draw 3 with the Ideas Unbound. Looks like he might have found red mana and a Braid, so he might be able to just knock out the Chalice of the Void right now if he wants to, and shoot Coffey for 7. I think he's a little short unless he has 3 1-mana spells. If he has 3 1-mana spells, he wins the game right now.
So there's Spire Bluff Canal as the land for turn.
You can Merchant Scroll, deal 7. 1-mana spell deals 8, but that's 15, so he's too short on that. And then next turn, the Witchbane Orb comes down again. So it might behoove him to play this a little slower if he does have the Abrade. Maybe go ahead and utilize mana with Merchant Scroll to find Rebuild so he can maybe combo kill next turn.
So the Aria's on 6, Kofi's at 17. You have to do some math based around the fact that once that Witchbane Orb comes back down, you're probably casting at least one spell with that on the table.
Yeah, I call that Ross Merriam math. That's math that I don't want to do because it's like a ladder, stepping stones.
Why would you do it if you can make Ross do it?
Right, he likes doing it.
Yeah.
You know. Merchant Scroll for Rebuild Pass. I think that locks it up. Unless Coffey draws another Thought Knots here to take it. And that might be what he has in the back of his mind. But he does have the Abrade, so it's not like he's dead or anything. Abrade plus a Twiddle does it. I mean, he's got a lot of lines if he has the cards in hand, but there's a lot going through his head right now. This is, you know, one of the last 2 turns of the game that he's going to get, basically.
Right.
It's the problem with tutors. They give you too many options. No one knows how to play tutors.
So here's Merchant Scroll. Aria Flame to 7, Kofi to 10.
Zap you. Merchant Scroll only gives blue cards, right?
Yes. Blue instants.
Yeah. So you can't go get Lightning Bolts?
No.
Too bad.
You could get Ancestral Recall. They would have to be legal in the format. Said he'll find Twiddle.
Okay, so he's just using his mana efficiently here. Next turn, he's just going to go Abrade Twiddle, kill you.
Yeah, that's the hope for him. See if Kofi has anything to say about it.
Well, maybe. Because the Abrade actually, he has to shoot himself with the Aria Flame damage, so he's going to need like one more thing besides that.
Yeah, you only go to
he also has to
8
discard
and
3
9.
cards with Ideas Unbound this turn.
Yeah, there they go. There's the Twiddle he found.
He kept the Abrade, which is important to note.
So head step, Endbringer, Kurtzman to 12. Finally, back to Kofi's turn. Definitely going to be one of the last turns of the game. He'll start with an activation on Endbringer. Thing in the Ice, or Awoken Horror rather, cannot block. And based on the cards in hand, that means this Matter Reshaper can attack Kurtzman to 12. And that means Endbringer activation puts him to 8. Put that Witchbane Orb back on the table. The Aria of Flame just kills Kurtzman.
So he can go Witchbane Orb, and I think he's actually one short, but he has the Walking Ballista. Oh, sorry, he has the Endbringer. You're right. But he also has Walking Ballista too.
Yeah. Difficult to imagine him not closing this one. Yeah, Walking Ballista for X equals 3. It's all well and good, but I believe the game was pretty much wrapped up without it. Kurtzman under the pressure of his own Aria Flame. You see Endbringer on tap here. So now there's Endbringer activation, Walking Ballista on 3. And yeah, Kurtzman just got to pick him up.
Chalice the Void doing what Chalice the Void do.
So it's Twiddle Storm stack, you know, that's fun to watch. But for Andrew Kurtzman, he'll fall to 5-2, whereas Evan Kofi will advance to 6-1.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the tougher matchups for him. I think this Twiddle Storm deck really relies on players having like Graveyard Hate, for example.